You are now listening to RJV TV. RJV TV. RJV TV.
Sports, music, film, entertainment, fashion, gaming, technology, and even politics. Yeah, we'll talk about it. You are now watching RJV TV on Octagono. Welcome, everybody, to this edition of El Octagono on RJV TV, brought to you by eloctagono.com. Remember, you can visit eloctagono.com for all your news, updates, interviews, results in the world of MMA. And you can check us out right now. We have a few interviews up there that you need to check out. One with Efrain Hecho en Mexico Escudero. It is in Spanish. Of course, we're going to review the Mexican in Spanish. But he's a badass little Mexican, man.
Word.
That's awesome. He's one of our good friends, too. So you got to check out that interview. And also Luis Baboon Palomino, El Peruano. And, man, it's going to be a sick fight added to that CFA 12 fight card that will be televised by Access TV. But if you are in Miami or in South Florida, you need to go to the U. So you can go ahead and watch this fight. This fight, man. This whole fight card is insane. And it's going to go down at the Bank United Center in Coral Gables, Florida, also known as the U. So, yeah. But jumping straight into topics of what's going on in the world of mixed martial arts, THQ is apparently planning to sue EA Sports and UFC for breach of trust, I guess, is more of the concept. Apparently there was an agreement or talks going on where EA Sports was supposed to buy THQ out, and they were going to pick up the licenses of the WWE games and the UFC games at the time. Talks fell through, and not too long after that, UFC openly criticized with financial information THQ openly, and not too far after that, UFC decided to bounce and go over to EA Sports. So they're claiming that financial information that was supposed to be kept private due to the conversations that were going on were apparently exposed to UFC, allowing them to have some little bit of leverage and an upper hand in a certain situation. And also THQ feels that there's more value to the UFC franchise, video game franchise, than what was offered and told to them.
And down on the table.
Yeah. Exactly. So there's a lot of things that need to be, sorted out in court. I'm guessing is this. I'm pretty sure this will make it to court. I don't know if there's going to be a settlement, but or maybe there will be. It's not like EA Sports doesn't have the money to settle, and so does UFC. I mean, UFC is a multi-billion-dollar company at this point, so I'm pretty sure they can afford it. Also, for UFC Fight Night 33, our good friend from Miami, a local Miami resident, Alex Bruce Leroy Caceres, has been added to the fight card to face off against Mitch Gagnon. Alex Caceres looked impressive in his return after his suspension, where he picked up a very impressive victory, and now he's facing off Mitch Gagnon, another dangerous opponent. So he's looking to bounce back even further and just keep climbing that UFC ladder. He's been looking beyond great, so he's doing what he needs to do in his training camp and has really improved his skill a lot. And then also added to that card is Julie Ketsi versus Alexandra Albu. Like that last name, Albu. So we're going to see that on the UFC Fight Night 33, which will go down December 7th. Now, this is an interesting little storyline right here. Dana White comments on Matt Brown and saying that if Matt Brown picks up this victory over Carlos Condit at UFC on Fox 9, December 14th, it will change Matt Brown's life. And that's because Matt Brown has looked beyond impressive lately. That man has been knocking everybody out. That nickname, the Immortal, just seems more surreal, more in your
fitting,
face.
yeah.
The more you see him fighting in that cage, because you see him caught in moments, but then he comes back and riles back and fights back and knocks you the hell out.
What is he like doing that?
He's a fighter. He's a brawler. That's the kind of fighter he is. But
always come back from behind. Yeah,
well, it's not always a comeback from behind. But he has had his comebacks from behind. But at the same time, it's just his hands look fantastic. Yeah. He just looks like he's finishing people. He's stronger than people, and he's finishing them. But Carlos Condit is one guy that does not go down easy at all. At all. The natural born killer does not go down easy. So it's going to be a tough task between the Immortal and the natural born killer. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a fun fight, so make sure you guys tune into that one. UFC on Fox 9, December 14th. Jose Aldo, there was a lot of people who wanted him to go up in weight to face off against the new crowned champion of the lightweight division, Anthony Showtime Pettis, because we all wanted to see that fight originally when Anthony Pettis was dropping weight to face off against Jose Aldo for the 145 title. But apparently Jose Aldo was told, no, sir. You know, go up and wait, by his coach, Andre Pedrinhas, and UFC president, Dana White, told him, no, do not do it. Aldo, do not do it. Not yet. So that's the only reason we're not seeing Jose Aldo versus Anthony Pettis at the moment. An additional note with the UFC is that they have added, and you tell me what you think about this, because this is something that I feel is something that needs to be done and should be done, and I hope they do implement this rule. But they're planning to put a rigid deadline to all champions to defend their title before being stripped of the belt. So in other words, they have a time limit of how long they can be out of commission, and that's basically because Dominic Cruz, the current bantamweight champion,
it's been out for,
I think it's like 2 years now.
Yeah.
He hasn't defended that belt like in 2 years, which is crazy.
I like it. I mean, to a certain point. Because if you've busted your ass for so long to reach the title contending and actually win the belt over, you should have some time with that belt in your hand.
Yeah, but I mean,
not like saying that you get your belt today and then a month from now you have to defend it.
Well, no,
you know what I mean?
You can't do it in a month anyway, because 30-day suspension is usually the basic. Basic suspension. But no,
every 4-6 months you have another.
They haven't
fight.
Announced the exact timeline limit, like the actual time. But I'm sure they're not going to say 2 years is okay.
No, it's not okay. That's what I'm saying. To a certain extent, is I love it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we have to get more details into like how long that time period is going to be. But as we know right now, they're putting the
for instance,
that stuff in motion.
For instance, if you have a contract per year that you have to have 3 fights, which is every 4 months.
Yeah.
And they tell you win the belt now, and in 4 months you have to defend the title. How do you feel about that? Well, is that enough time with you having that belt?
Yeah, but that's not how they run their contract.
No, I'm not saying that. It's just an example.
I mean, for me, the point is this. If you're a champion and you have not been seriously injured to the point where you require surgery, you should have to defend that belt as soon as you're healthy and ready to go.
Okay.
That's how I honestly feel about it. If you're a champion, you need to defend that belt. So that's why sometimes you see some of these champions take an extremely long amount of time, and one of them would be Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva at one point you only saw him fight like almost once a year. That's about it, and that's
too much of a wait period.
Yeah, that to me isn't fun. You know, if you're a champion, you should be defending that belt if you're at your healthiest every 4 to 5, 6 months or so.
That's what I say.
So, I mean, because that's around the time period. It's usually a month of suspension, medical suspension, and then about a 3-month camp that you get for your next fight. So, you know, ranging around there should be about 4-month window between fights.
I agree.
So we'll see what they do. We'll see what the exact numbers are going to be, but obviously if there's serious injuries, John Jones' broken toe, if things like that happen to heal, you know, he healed a lot quicker than a lot of people believed, but if things happen like that, or for what happened with Dominic Cruz, obviously you have to take something into consideration, because you're talking about an injury that does take you out for a year. So we'll have to wait and see what the final decisions are there, but a very interesting thought process that's going on there with that, and I'm pretty sure that it has to do simply because of Dominic Cruz's whole situation. Also, Michael Bisping, a lot of people know that he's injured and had to pull out of the Mark Munoz fight, the eye injury. He did post up a picture of how the eye looks. It's not pretty to see. You can tell that he has an eye issue, pretty much. Let's just say that. You can tell he has an eye issue. And he's taking it calmly. He's taking it smooth because obviously there is a possibility of career-ending situations when it comes to your eye. And you don't want to risk, losing your whole career just because you jumped the gun so quickly and pull a Dwight Howard and get back into the whole mix of things too early and end up causing more damage than you want. But all in all, we did realize that Lyoto Machida will be replacing him in this fight card and will be facing off against Mark Munoz. He was originally slated to face off against Tim Kennedy, but that's not going to happen. And that was going to be Lyoto's introduction to the 185 division, the middleweight division, where his good pal Anderson Silva will be fighting Chris Weidman at UFC 168 for that middleweight belt. That's going to be a fun rematch.
Yes, it is.
But Lyoto Machida will be remaining at his weight class and facing off against Mark Munoz. And he said he took it because he did not want to disappoint his bosses. So he did not want to make Lorenzo Fertitta, Dana White, and all those in charge of UFC upset. Yeah, he didn't want to. He didn't want to walk that plank, especially because we all saw what that plank did to John Jones.
Yeah. Not good.
It put him in ugly territory when he turned down that Chael Sonnen fight at first.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously now we're going to see this Lyoto Machida versus Mark Munoz, October 26th, Fight Night 30. That's going to be on Fox Sports 1. You're not going to want to miss that fight card. It's a fun fight anyway. Lyoto Machida did point out that to him, the change of opponent isn't that much different because they're both very talented wrestlers. And that's where he sees that his training was focused on. He doesn't see much difference except some stylistic differences in attacks with punches and things like that. So little changes that needed to be done, but nothing drastic. For BAMMA, Paul Daley to return to the cage against Brazilian journeyman Romario Manoel da Silva. It's going to be December 14th at BAMMA 14 in Birmingham, England. Paul Daley returning to the cage is always exciting news because the man knows how to knock people out. But one thing we know is that he does not like being on his back. Now, even though he has stepped up his takedown defense, but that Brazilian, Romario da Silva, Manoel da Silva, knows how to take people to the ground. So we'll see what happens in that matchup for BAMMA 14. Now, we also had UFC Fight Night 29 go down. Damian Maia versus Jake Shields, a fun fight that went down from Jose Carrera Arena in Banril, Brazil. Barueri.
Yes.
Maybe, baby. Que se dio a cabo de Brasil.
Barueri.
But yeah, so we saw a lot of fun fights here. Started off with a few knockouts, a few TKOs actually, from Alec Patrick and Chris Carrasco. A couple of decisions from Jan Cabral and Igor Araujo. And Rafael Assunção gets what I believe was an upset victory over TJ Dillashaw. Split decision victory, a very close fight. But Rafael Assunção picks up the victory. Now, this is the interesting note. Josamir Palhares wins his fight against Mike Pierce in 31 seconds by a heel hook. Now, we've seen this from him before. Obviously, we know him as like, the heel killer, the heel snatcher, whatever you want to call him, the ankle collector. But one thing that he continually does is hold on to that submission while the guy's tapping out and while the referee is trying to separate.
That's not good.
And you're talking about a heel. You're causing
you're good. Torn ligaments, overstretching.
No, you can break it.
Yeah,
you can break it. We've seen broken feet because of that. Let's put it like that. Not because of him, but we've seen broken feet
in general.
Before. And it can happen. And he's had a tendency of doing it over and over and over again. And
it hasn't clicked on him yet.
Exactly. So he was set up to win submission of the night bonus. That got denied. They said due to unsportsmanlike conduct, he was not going to get his submission of the night bonus. But that's not even the kibosh. That's not even the cherry on top. That's not even the spice to the pepper. That's not.
It's nothing.
He is now banned from the UFC. He is now banned from the UFC, and due to his conduct and show of disrespect in a lot of ways. And the thing is, a lot of people don't understand how severe of a slap in the face this is for Pajares to do this. You know, for him to hang on to that heel an excessive amount of time, causing extra damage that was completely unnecessary. The man tapped out almost immediately. There was no reason for you to hold on to that submission any longer than that. And same goes with when the referee's trying to separate you.
Yeah.
If the referee is literally trying to yank you two apart like that, the only reason he should be yanking you apart like that is if it is you grounding and pounding, because at that moment your adrenaline is rushing like that. When you're holding a submission, there's no reason for you not to let that go. Yeah, and the entire Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community is angry at this man because they see him continue to do it. And they say that he's just a complete disgrace to the Jiu-Jitsu community because of that. Now, obviously, there's some that defend him and all that stuff because he's a great Jiu-Jitsu guy. I mean, this guy is a king of heel hooks. That's what he does. He's a master of art when it comes to heel hooks. But, man, if you're willing to sacrifice people's legs just to not let go on time, you know, and not only this time, he's done it
repeatedly.
Yeah, and, you know, he's continued this process. So at that point, you have to realize what you're doing. I don't know what's going on through his head that he does not release.
Is it a rush that he enjoys? I mean,
don't know,
who knows?
I don't know.
Wow, completely banned from UFC. That's crazy.
Yeah, at least for now, he's banned from the UFC, and I don't know. It's going to take a lot for him to come back. Also, Fabio Maldonado had a very close bout with Joey Beltran. It was a split decision win for Fabio Maldonado. Some people had it scored for the Mexicutioner, Joey Beltran, but some gave it over to Fabio Maldonado. Now, Thiago Silva gave us a very dry fight against Matt Hamill. Both of these guys just looked exhausted. It looked like they came prepared. It looked like their diet was on Twinkies.
Diet?
Well, you know what I mean. Like, it looked like they prepared, improperly.
Exactly.
Dong Hyun Kim knocks out Eric Silva, man. What the hell happened? Eric Silva, this guy's a monster, and he gets knocked out beautifully by Dong Hyun Kim.
How you getting knocked out?
Dong Hyun Kim did it beautifully. Like, you need to go see that replay, man. It was a beautiful knockout. Impressive by all means. Dong Hyun Kim made a statement by knocking out Eric Silva, man. Like, seriously, a very big statement when he made there. And the main event was Jake Shields versus Damian Maia. Jake Shields ekes away a decision win, a split decision win over Damian Maia. It was a very close bout. It was one of those fights that was a lot of transitioning on the ground. A lot of work went into that fight, and a lot of people don't appreciate what they saw in that fight. But let me tell you, that was a hell of a fight. Fight of the night bonus went to Rafael Assunção versus TJ Dillashaw, and knockout of the night, the obvious, Dong Hyun Kim. And due to José Pajares having the only submission of the night that ended up getting denied, and ultimately to him getting banned from the UFC, there was no submission of the night given.
It would have been that one, unfortunately.
It would have been that, but yeah, there was none. So each of those bonuses were $50,000 to each of the fighters involved. So congratulations to them. And this was UFC Fight Night 29. Now, there's a lot coming through soon. You have UFC 166, Dos Santos versus Cain Velasquez.
It's going to be good.
A very good fight. This fight card is looking fantastic as well. So you're not going to want to miss this one. It will be the 19th of October from Houston, Texas in the Toyota Center. You have Velasquez versus Dos Santos, Daniel Cormier versus Roy Nelson, Gilbert Melendez versus Diego Sanchez, guaranteeing that's going to be fight of the night. Gabriel Gonzaga versus Sean Jordan, John Dodson versus Darryl Montague, and that's just the main card. Yeah. The prelim card, listen to this prelim card. Tim Boach versus CB Dalloway, Nate Marquardt versus Hector Lombard, Sarah Kaufman versus Jessica Ai, and George Soteropoulos versus KJ Nunes. All those fights could be a main card on a fight night card.
Yeah.
You know, like every one of those fights can be on the main card of a fight night card, with your main event being Nate Marquardt versus Hector Lombard. And And then the additional preliminary card that's going to be on Facebook is going to be TJ Wahlberger versus Adrian Amagov, Tony Ferguson versus our good friend Mike Rio, Wolverine, Jeremy Larson versus Andre Philly, and Dustin Peg versus Kyoji Hidoguchi. Yes, he has Gucci in his name. I don't think he belongs to the Gucci family, but he does have it in his name.
Gucci!
Yeah.
It's all Gucci.
But with that, we're going to end this segment reminding you guys
El Octagono.
El Octagono. Check out eloctagono.com for all the updates, all the most current news, anything that's going on in the world of mixed martial arts, interviews, results, everything. Just check out eloctagono.com. And we'll be bringing you a lot of new stuff soon. So be paying a lot of attention to what we're going to bring you, because El Octagono is going to be bringing you a lot of new stuff very, very soon. So keep a close eye. Remember to follow El Octagono on Twitter, on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter.
Just follow it all.
Mr. Randall V, Cuts by Bless, Cuts with a Z.
Yes.
And we'll see you guys next week.
These words fade away and I might